CornerCade in black. Deadline scrolling like a centipede stack. Let's go, get hyped, the CornerCade is back. Basic fun, mini cab stacked wall to wall. Iconic arcade customs got them all on call. Mine's hotter than the lava at the end of Act 2. If it's coin op culture, then he's bringing it to...
We're back, baby. Let's fucking go. We are back and in the building. Guys, we've done it. We've made the leap to AI. Unbelievable. And speaking about unbelievable, guys, we are less than 24 hours away from my boy Glenn Plantamento's GRS Build-A-Cade FU going live with the Kickstarter, guys. And nobody better to answer any of your questions, any of your last minute questions, guys. If you're on the fence, now is the time to get over that fence. We got Glenn Plantamento in the building. Glenn, what's going on, man?
We are 23 hours and 57 minutes away from the Kickstarter go live. I can't believe we're finally, after all this time, finally here.
You talk about all this time, man. When did you come up with this massive FU idea to say, look, like where did it start? Where like I want to build a full-size arcade unit and see what I can bring to the table. When did this transpire?
Well, we've all been there, even as kids, right? We all wanted to do it. I'm going to say the idea was really when I was a kid, but now I have the ability to make that happen. And honestly, in dealing with certain organizations, I did generally call them done up. You know, that's kind of where I come up with that. But when that kind of really fell through in the way that it went down, I said, you know what, I can make a better machine. I know I can make a better machine. I can make a better machine from the components to the SBC, sound, and definitely the quality of the machine itself. But the key is I got to do that at a price that's reasonable. And even with a tariff in place, I think I managed to do that, especially with the first 100 of each of the 19-inch and 26-inch. But I'm just excited about it because when you think about it, you know, think of like Apple. I'm not an Apple fanboy. I'm more of an Android guy myself. But certain things about Apple do make sense. You know, when you control the entire production line, the entire production process, you can control the quality and, you know, the components. And since I was already making the best arcade parts, it just made sense. Just add the little extras on there and make my own unit. Now, people have to also remember, just because this Kickstarter is launching, doesn't necessarily mean it's going to come to fruition. We have to make our goal. So if it does, I know people are going to be incredibly impressed with it. People already have the iArcade KVM switcher, which is kind of like the alpha of the FU because we use that same control deck. But when people got that control deck, it's not a cheap deck. It's the wood is solid MDF and the controls are phenomenal. And we're just taking it to the next level with cool other features like the electronic rotating 19-inch screen. And of course, Michael B guilted me into the 26-inch, but it is a beautiful screen and it just fits. I mean, it really takes up the entire area. But as you can see behind me, I still have some machines. I have an original Zaxxon arcade. You know, I definitely love real arcade machines, of course, but they're also like real pinball. They're hard to keep going. You know, the COTs, the motherboard, they're just old. That's 1982. I do have still some arcade done-up machines. Obviously, you can see the Tron, which, of course, we know where that joystick came from. And I have the Star Wars there with my Star Wars flight yoke, improving that Star Wars. And I also have the iArcade units, which I thought were really, it's a shame they didn't take off because, honestly, I had partnered with John and iArcade to start making control decks and stuff for that. So that's really where I was going. So if the iArcade had continued, I simply would have partnered making peripherals and parts for the iArcade and help build up that ecosystem. But of course, that failed. And then there was a potential third party buying iArcade. So there was still hope that that would have continued. But that all obviously, you know, imploded and the iArcade died out. So I said, you know what, listen, one way to make sure I can make sure that my vision of different control decks and things I have in my head I want to come out was really to build at least one machine of my own. And I say one machine of my own because, again, depending how well this does and how well, you know, things go in the future, it could become more machines, definitely more control decks, sure. I was talking just the other day, if you saw the video, you were talking about it earlier, about maybe doing a pinball deck. And I'm talking about doing a pinball deck with accelerometers and motion sensors. Even on a 200-pound machine, technology has gotten to the point where, you know, an ant can crawl on there and you can have it know it. So those are things I'm thinking about. And again, the key is doing advanced stuff like that, best quality stuff, but keeping it affordable. If it's not affordable, I don't want part of it.
Yeah, that's something that you strived on really is just the quality and affordability. Those two things kind of coming together from, you know, your experiences with working with different companies. I got to ask you this real quick. Like, and guys, you know, I want to say hi to each and every one of you in the chat. We are just getting started, baby. Let's go. Real quick while we're on that topic. So, you know, you have a real arcade behind you. We all, this is not a debate, it's not a question. We all love real arcades. I wish I could have them in my house, but I can't. These are
We all
just
do.
more affordable, they're more accessible, yada yada, so forth. You know, hey, guess what? My two little ones just discovered Gauntlet on the Midway Golden Tee, and man, it is so damn cool just to peek your head in right around the corner here from the door as a dad and watch your two littles, 3 and 5, work together to play Gauntlet, a game from what is the 80s. Like, and you know, these kids can be on anything, devices, TikTok, VR, you name it, right? These kids are having an absolute blast playing a game from the 80s that my wife loves. And, you know, it's cool. We can play online now, and she can hop on the Mortal Kombat cap. I digress. It was just such a cool, they've just discovered it yesterday. So they've been playing yesterday, today, went to the pool, had some fun. But it's cool to see, like, you know, the next generation, our generation, you know, the next generation after me enjoy these retro games in
Well, it's
different form
more than
factors,
that.
different
You
sizes
you,
and
you
shapes.
hit onto it. It's more than that. It's you turn around the corner and seeing your kids playing together, but it's something you can enjoy in as well. Because if they're enjoying it, especially Gauntlet, you could join in, and
Mhm.
that's my ultimate real goal is to get people to kind of get back to that part of gaming, not just, you know, I'm in one house, I'm in another house. Kind of get families together, kids and parents to spend time together. Cousins coming over for parties, right? They all go down to I'm sure your area there when you're having a party, and they're all enjoying themselves.
And
That
that's,
I
yep,
like watching, and like you did
yep.
too. You like,
Yep.
I'm a voyeur, I
And
guess. I like to
that's
watch.
that's why we have this. It's the atmosphere. Anybody can grab a PS5, an Xbox, a Switch, put a headset on, be immersed in the zone with your own self and ignore the atmosphere around you. But the arcade was all about atmosphere. That's why they had the attract modes, the sounds, the lights, the marquees, everything to draw you in. Now let me ask you this, Glenn. Because we have a company here, much like yourself, on the verge of possibly coming out with something. Said product is right behind you, a Star Wars XL. Would you be on board if that were to come to fruition to say, hey, look, that looks pretty dope, even though it's a particle board kind of arcade? I would get that to add to my collection. Would you do that?
Well, like I said, I already have the one now, and I think it's a good unit. I mean, it's not the best quality unit, but it ticks the right things. It looks the part. The emulator on there is spot on. So that's one thing that they did really well. Is the emulator is probably the best one out there. As far as buying another one, no, I wouldn't
Okay.
buy
Okay.
another one. I would be totally fine with the FU with my Star Wars flight yoke on it. Being totally honest, or using the buy stuff store. I have the mount for the At Games Legends Ultimate, which I have over
Yeah.
over
Yeah.
there. There we go.
There.
And I have the mount for that. So I played on that. But I definitely would see that people don't have that yet who want that machine. Because again, the Star Wars real cabinet is notorious for breaking. With the Atari back in 82, 83, the arcade machines were built the best. So again, the important thing is if someone buys something, it doesn't matter who makes it, but if you're happy with the purchase, whether it be $200 or $500, I think that's totally up to that person. For me, I just want to make sure when you're buying it from me, that money you're spending is going to be for something that's going to last.
Yeah, 100%. Like, hopefully everything lasts back here because I enjoy the heck out of these guys. All right, guys, let me say hi to each and every one of you real quick. We got the Be Me in the building first and ready to go to get the 26-inch screen with all the sticks. CornerCade is ready to be used. I can't wait. Let's go. Be Me is on board already, so that's awesome. We got Julio Hernandez. Good evening, everybody. Can't wait for the show tonight. Awesome stuff. Julio, thank you for being here as one of my moderators. Vic Vicious, the same. Evening, everybody. Prepare yourself, Glenn, because he's got questions coming in hot.
I got answers. One thing I do pride myself on is, I don't hold back. I will respond.
And
Whatever
I got some like oddball questions, but we also have a big kind of elephant in the room question that we're going to get answered that I haven't seen anybody else touch on. because there's certain components here that I don't want to say worry, right? I don't say worry, but like a rotating screen, will that wear over time? We got some questions that we're gonna get answered here in the final moments here. As James Hates Everything is in the building, let's do this. Meatball Saucy also in the house. Thank you for stopping by, man. Sir Sega's waiting. We're getting this party started. FU, Mike Hawkins is all on board. I know J-Rod has been mentioning to get both, do the double bubble package, which is awesome.
We do have a package for that.
And speaking of J-Rod, he's right here. Let's go. Thank you for stopping by, man. Let's see what else we got. Bill's Retro Show. He's a CornerCade crew member. Let's go. Thank you for the channel, man. Let's go. Hey, y'all. And Glenn will be on with Bill in less than 24 hours tomorrow to kind of reel in the celebration, which will be dope. Oh, J-Rod, you like that new intro? How do you feel, Glenn? We got the new intro going.
Yeah, I'm telling you, AI is getting really scary, man. It's only been really like being used for like what, a year or two? Imagine in 5 or 6 years. I mean,
it's gonna advance like no other. Yeah, it's I mean, we saw those like real life like dolls that were at like CES or whatever. It's really trippy, man. Robert Brown, thank you, man, for stopping by and enjoying the new intro. Let's go. We got a couple people that love it. Jim the Pacers fan saying hi to everybody, and Glenn. Let me scroll down and see if I missed anybody, and we're pretty much caught up. Israel Gaming, another CornerCade crew channel member. What's up, Danny and Glenn and everybody else? Ooh, Jim's got a good question here. So do you want to hit this out of the gate, or do you want to save this till the end? Because this was one of the elephant in the question.
He's asking the question now, and you brought it up, so I think it's only fair to answer. So
yep.
No, go ahead. Finish.
Oh, I was going to say, so yeah, we were talking warranty. So he wanted to know, and this is a question that I had that I've never heard anyone talk about, right? So, what is the warranty? Is there going to be a way to upgrade the processor, memory, storage? Lastly, can you purchase additional decks at a later date? That I already know that's a yes. But what is the warranty, Glenn, that you have lined up here? What are you kind of thinking about? What do we got going on with that?
Sure. So, I wasn't even thinking that. I'm thinking about getting everything ready, getting the parts tested, getting the Kickstarter going. I totally forgot about the warranty. So we talked actually over it literally yesterday. I said, guys, we do have to put the warranty. So we'll update the Kickstarter page. We're going to do a 1-year warranty on the machine. Any part that is bad, we will send you out a replacement part during that time frame. So it'll be a 1-year warranty on the FU.
That's beautiful, guys. Chat, you should be really excited about that because I'm not doubting your components at all, but stuff happens, right?
Things do happen.
What if like the motor got grinded down where it can't rotate the screen? Now you're stuck in like a 3/4 turn and you can't play the games, right? Like, this is stuff that I
so you play a game of Wacko.
Right? Yeah, right. Exactly. The whole cabinet was like, these are questions that I immediately, once you said, hey, we're going to do a rotating monitor, I'm like, this has never been done before. What are the kind of parts in it? Because, we've seen, and I'm not anywhere comparing your quality to Arcade 1-Up, but Arcade 1-Up came out with a claw machine, right? And they're putting metal components onto plastic components, and they're obviously going to wear down over time. So, like, that is immediately what I started thinking about is like, wow,
First of all, if you're buying an Arcade done-up machine, you're already going to know it's going to break within a week. It's just a fact. And again, that's how I started. Their spinners and trackballs and all those things were breaking. And that's how I got my start. Yeah. So they had the opportunity to work with me, and they decided instead to burn that bridge. And now I'm going to make a machine. Now, I know people keep saying it's not the same genre to be in, but it totally is. The arcade done-up machines are multi-cades. As many people say they're not, they are. There's more than one game on it, and if you're going to spend the money on one of those, you got a chance right now to get a better quality machine.
Yeah, 100%. Like so you could go 2 routes. It just touching up on some of the basic fun Arcade 1-Up iconic arcade stuff. For me personally, like you do tap into the other games. Like, do I play Final Fight on Street Fighter? Of course. But when Street Fighter's up, it's Street Fighter in a track mode. And 9 times out of 10, I'm going to play the Street Fighter or Ms. Pac-Man on a Ms. Pac-Man cab, right? So yes, to your point, 100%. Everything at the end of the day truly is a multi-cade. Obviously, there's some exceptions to the rules. Fast and Furious is just one. There's oddball exceptions. But we're talking about in the general scope of things. For your multi-cade, this truly is. I was looking at a multi-cade. I don't consider the Golden Tee Midway a multi-cade. That's just a Golden Tee cab with. It's just.
But isn't there a joystick and stuff on there?
Yeah, it's It's
It's a
a
multi-cade.
hodgepodge. Yeah, but
It's a
okay.
multi-cade.
It's a poorly done multi-cade. Because when I think
Exactly.
multi-cade, I think of like games I could play anywhere from Berserk to I don't, you name it, the current stuff, right? Like you got 10,000 games on there. This thing is awesome. It's your kind of one-stop solution. Because at the end of the day, let's just call it for what it is, guys. Not everybody can dedicate a basement or a room to your hobby. Some people only have that little corner where this product is perfect for that. And like you were saying, this is, the iArcade on steroids. This is the iArcade 2.0. This is the iArcade, but done better.
Right.
More full size, more options, better processing power. The options are endless with your controller decks. You could truly get everything you wanted out of what this is. And that's why people should be excited and hyped about this. And another thing we talked about, weights and stuff. This thing's not going to move on you. You're not going to be able to push it with a pinky. This has got more quality components in it where it's going to just be that much more of a real arcade where you kind of come up to this machine and you're like, yeah, this is pretty cool actually. And I think the more people get their hands on it, the more we see review videos, I think it's gonna make those people that are kind of on the fence like myself. I'm kind of on the fence with this, kind of jump into, okay, this is actually legit. I should probably pick one up. And if you want to get in early, the Kickstarter you were saying for the first, was it 100, 200? Are going to
First
get the best
100
deal?
on the 19
100%.
and first 100 of the 26 will have basically. I'm going to eat the tariff, the 30% tariff on those, and keep the 19-inch at $999, so under $1,000. That does include obviously the rotating powered screen, the ultimate gates, the ultimate control panel, the gate switches, trackball illuminated, a real coin door, caster wheels. So though it doesn't move, you can tilt it and get it to move.
Like a
Light up
real
marquee,
arcade. Yeah.
light up marquee, real arcade T molding. I want to emphasize real arcade T molding, and a free 1/6 scale Build-A-Cade along to boot, and of course the GRS Viper Venom SBC computer.
Yeah.
With our running arcade.
And that's something that I'm not familiar with. And we can kind of keep this a little organized, kind of going from top to bottom, but maybe we can start internally. When you go to put games on this, how are people doing that? Because I'm not familiar with ArcadeNet or anything. I'm literally familiar with the Arcade 1-Up PCB and encoder board. That's it.
So I actually have up next to my Viper at the top of the screen. I'm gonna move one down here. Let's see if I do this. So this is actually my standard Viper. My Venom, I'm expecting to get here in a week, but this is the regular Viper. That's the RK3566, not the RK3588. And right now it's running Dapney. So I'm going to exit out of this and take a second. So this is running the Arcade operating system, which is a phenomenal thing being done by the Arcade team. And we can show real quick as soon as it comes back over here. I'm going to back up one screen if I do it right. So right now you can see if I go in here, I can load stuff internally, but right now I have a 256 gigabyte SSD connected on USB. So I can load tons and tons of games on here. If I go back, we can see right now we have Daphne with all these different emulators. And it's going to take a minute to scroll through all these different things that are on here. And of course, the RK3566 is a powerful chipset, but the Viper Venom is going to run an RK3588, which is a much more powerful architecture. In fact, if you look it up yourself, I look at the Raspberry Pi 5, which is obviously the newest Raspberry Pi that's out there, and the RK3588. In every single checkbox, the RK3588 will outperform it, whether it be video, processing power, memory speed, and so forth. Now, the one I want to say downside is obviously the Raspberry Pi has a larger ecosystem, right? So they have a lot more developers for it, where it's not going to be that way with the RK35 chipset yet. But that's one of the things I'm hoping here. I'm trying to make this ecosystem grow. So right now we have the 1/6 scale Build-A-Cade that runs the Viper. We're going to have the Viper Venom in the full size unit. And I have other projects and other systems coming out running these chipsets, so it'll run arcade, including for the X Arcade, because we're going to have something coming out for the X Arcade that you can use there as well. So again, I'm still scrolling through the systems that this supports. So when people say, what am I going to be able to play with day one? We're almost getting to that point. So we're almost at the end of the list. We're getting there. So we have all these different systems. And on top of this, you can play video files and music files. It's got Kodi built in. It's got video playback built in. You can see Kodi, movies, music. You can even go on the internet and surf the internet. You can have pictures on here. There's all kinds of things. Even 3DO. I'm a 3DO fan. I have a lot of videos of my Panasonic being dead, so I'm probably gonna put a Viper in there and play the 3DO, and this will work even on the regular Viper. So that's something that's cool. Of course, you have the Amiga still. I think we're almost at the end of the list. CDTV. I think now we're finally back at the. I think we're almost at. Yeah, I think we're at the back where we started. I think I lost count, but in any case, you want to know how you got to get games on here, right? So if I go over, let's say, just make it simple. I'm going to Atari 7800. Okay. So if I go on there and press the menu button, we have a couple things here. You can switch to Kodi if you want to go for movie playback. We also have the Net Play lobby. So if you're running multiple versions, if you have your own Vipers or just running emulation station, you can connect to friends over the internet or in the same household and play games together, like play Streets of Rage together, or play Doom, or Wolfenstein, or Duke Nukem. You could do, over the internet, all free, all included. But if I go down to, is it Game Center? I'm trying to remember now. I have so many different menus. Yes. So in here, you have all different options here for the game menus. You can see we have Moonlight. If you want to stream Steam, so if you have a Steam account, you can stream your Steam to your Viper or Viper Venom and play the games that way. But this is what you were asking for, CornerCade. So right here, Game Downloader. So I press on the Game Downloader. Now, this is not all the systems that are supported. And again, not all of these are available for direct download here, but a lot of them are. We'll go through a couple of them. So some of these you'll have to get on your own because they're simply not available online for where we can put them. And you can load them on, SD card, or you can copy them over. There's multiple ways to do that. And there'll be tutorials for that as well. But a lot of these things will be easy to download. So if I go down to like Atari 7800, right? Click on that. It says right here, you had to, when you install this for the first time, you have to accept the license agreement saying the games you're downloading, you are legally entitled to, okay? I know this becomes a very murky thing, but this is how we're covering ourselves, saying, listen, if you're downloading this, you're doing it legally, you're admitting and agreeing to these terms. So you agree to those terms, and it's going to go on here, it's going to search. Now, here are the different options. You can save it to the device on the internal storage or external. So like I said, I have a 256 USB drive on here. I can go to that, or I'm going to go to the internal, so I can kind of separate what I have already versus what I'm going to download today. Now, if I go to select games to download, here's a list of a bunch of Atari 7800 games. Now, you can see in the menu in the bottom, if I go down to the bottom here, I can select all if I wanted to, and just say, just grab all of these right now. Or I can say, no, I don't have all of them. I'm going to select none. And I'll pick, I'm going to pick Joust, and I'll pick Impossible Mission. And of course, the Courier Warriors, I got that. And then I'll go back down to the menu here. Take me a second to scroll. See, so many games. See, when I have so many games, it becomes hard to do stuff like this. So I'm going to go here, and I'll go to back. I selected a couple games. I selected 3. I'm going to have it go to the internal, but I could go to the external if I wanted to, but I'm going to stay with the internal. I'm going to pick the game download, and it's now downloading the games and artwork and other information about the game. You see it's downloading them right here.
Yeah.
3 all downloaded. I reload the list. And you can see our core is still Emulation Station, which is extremely popular. Almost everyone uses Emulation Station, so it's extremely popular.
Wow, this seems pretty easy.
And that's it. Now, boom, here we go. Now you can see on the external, if I go there, I already have all the games. But on the internal 32 gigabytes, look, here they are. They're right there. That was it. I just downloaded those games. So that is as easy as it could possibly be to add games to your Viper. Simple, quick, clean, efficient.
Yeah, that is very easy. That's crazy because I'm not familiar. Chat, I don't know if anybody in the chat, if you guys are familiar. That's mind blowing. That's very, very easy. Wow, that's insane. That's literally crazy.
So when people are saying, what am I going to have to play with? We have the Adventures of Robbie Roto. I have a license for that. I was very gracious to give me that license. We have some demo games on there. First levels of Doom and Wolfenstein and other games. But if you have the right to these games and you go into these game downloader, there's literally the day you put it together, you have tens of thousands of games you can start playing on here. And again, you can also connect your PC because it's HDMI in, for the video and audio. If you have a high-end PC you want to put in the back, there's a spot right in the back of the machine. It's got a lock, undo the lock. It's a real arcade lock. Put a machine in there. And you can have your PC going in there. So we tried to make sure we thought of everything for how people want to use this system. Now, of course, I can't possibly think of everything, but that's what I'm leaving up to the community as well, because the whole point of the FU is not just for me and my company, T-Sticks Thunderstick, to make things for this. We have like Joe Sabo's Arcade, we have Escape Pod, we have 99 Lives Arcade, Do Yourself Retro Arcade, just to name a few. People make artwork or control decks or additional parts for this, in addition to people doing it on their own, because we were going to release the schematics for the artwork and for the control decks if people want to make their own stuff. And I'm hoping the community will kind of blossom around the ecosystem. That's kind of my hope.
Yeah, it's gonna be interesting to see like who picks the ball up and kind of rolls with it and invents new and exciting things. Now, with those games, you downloaded them. Are the buttons already configured? Do you have to map the buttons if you're using certain control decks, or how does that work?
Well, the Arcade OS has that ability. So for right now, what I was demonstrating here is just a regular Viper. So it's the way I set up the controls through Emulation Station when I first connected it. Now, my ultimate goal through an update, and again, I didn't mention before that when new versions of the Arcade OS are out, like on a Raspberry Pi, generally you have to, you download a new version, put on the SD card, got to go all over again. There's some updates you can do internally, but all of our updates and upgrades are done online. So if an upgrade's available, you'll be notified at the top of the screen. There's an update to the Arcade OS, and you say, "Yeah, I'll do it now." And it says, do you want to back it up or not? I never do. Probably dumb, but I don't back up. I just go, "Yeah, do the update." Updates to the latest cores, the latest operating system, latest emulators, everything, and puts it on there. So in talking to my team, we are going to make it so that when you connect, say, the Ultimate Control Panel, it'll know there's two joysticks, there's a trackball, and there's spinners. It'll know that that's kind of there,
Okay.
and kind of
Okay.
configure that for base games. But when you disconnect it and say plug in the Star Wars Flight Yoke, it should recognize, oh, okay, you connected the GRS Flight Yoke to Arcade, and it will kind of map the yoke in its system. Same with the Akari sticks, and the same with the Tron stick. So the plan is, yes, when you connect the deck, it'll be kind of self-aware instead of up for that. But that again, we're talking the Kickstarter's got to launch. We're probably talking like February, so there's plenty of time. But if it's not available, then it will come in a software update saying, okay, these decks are now pre-configured for these games, and boom, it just goes.
Wow, that kind of blows my mind actually. Like, I don't know, man. I might be on board with this now. Like, this is crazy. 'Cause, like that's why we're here. We got the questions. We need the questions answered. Like that's unbelievable. I can play Berserk finally, right? Not that I'm saying like, oh my god, that's my go-to, but we know there's never going to be a Berserk dedicated cabinet, right? Like you can play. I don't want to say these oddball games, but the games that are just never going to be like Zaxxon is a great example.
Right,
Do
I
we
love
really think a
Zaxxon.
home arcade community is going to make a Zaxxon? Probably not. But now you can get the most realistic Zaxxon multi-cade with your flight yoke, and wow, that's crazy. That's really cool stuff,
The
man.
goal, like my goal, is to bring the highest quality components and machine at the lowest price possible. That's my goal. And I teamed up with Arcade because their goal is to deliver a very easy to use platform. So again, always be updates coming out for Arcade and making things even easier. But that's a beautiful thing about software, just like a Tesla or something like that, right? You get these software updates, or an iPhone or an Android. You get updates monthly.
Mhm.
So you get these updates that'll add features, and we listen. So if someone says, listen, this is something I either have a problem with or I'd like to see, if we can do it, we'll implement it and put it through. And that's a good thing also about being a small community, is that we can listen to people and say, you know what, that's a good idea. We can do that. Or say, you know what, it's a good idea, but I don't think we could do that right now. But you get answers versus big companies. You send the information out and they say, yeah, we'll do something, and nothing happens at all. So
Yeah,
that's the other
kind of gets
plus
lost in
about
the
this.
sauce. Yeah. Well, that's good because obviously, listening to the people that are the most hardcore about this stuff, you should probably take note of that. Just throwing it out there. Chris Nooner has a question here. Is it possible to get just the flight yoke and the flight stick decks? Just want to get those two.
So I was actually talking again right before the show because people hit me up with these questions. So what we're going to do is you could buy the package with all the decks. Let's say, right? You buy that, you select the FU with all the decks. You could send us an email. Our email account is in there, saying, "Listen, I'm order number blah blah blah. I really only want this deck and this deck. Can you remove the Glintendo hood, or can you remove the Akari stick and this thing?" And we will remove that from the order and obviously subtract that. But for right now, we don't want to make any changes to the main page because we're like so close. to the launch. We're literally under a day. So we will do that. So anyone who says, or I want to add a second, I want 2 Nintendo hoods. So I bought the double package. I need 2. Pick the package you want. If you want the decks, you pick, all the decks, and just send us an email saying, I really would, Glenn, if you can, I want this deck pulled out. We'll send an updated invoice and give you that information. So right now, that's how we're going to do it, versus making 1,000 different packages. Remember the old days? You're people too young. You ordered a car, you used to have a list 15 pages long. We don't want to do that. Here are the main packages, and we'll work with you. Again, that's the good thing about being the team that we're at, is we can get the emails and we can make those type of changes on the fly for people.
It's funny that you say that, because it's almost like car dealerships should go back to that, because, like Honda, for example, you get, the LX is their base model. If you want to hop to the EX, let's just say I want a remote start, right? Well, instead of adding that, I got to get the sunroof, I got to get the wheel package, I got to get the fog lights, and then it creates this okay, $3,000 later. I'm like, guys, I just wanted a remote start. I got to
go to Best Buy
too. Yeah,
a big plug to Best Buy right there. Let's go to Best Buy.
They don't do the car install anymore. They're very
they stopped?
stores that do that. Yeah, there's a lot of, lack of a better word, you get a bunch of kids installing this stuff, and it's actually costing the company more in insurance claims, because they're effing up every component of the car, that they don't really know what they're doing. And you know how companies are. There's zero training anywhere you go, guys. I'm 39. I've been working for 20 years, right? It's the same across the board. There's zero training. They throw some e-learnings at you on the computer, and then they throw you out there. So, no fake, no fault to these guys that are trying to do the job, but there's just never, companies don't invest in training at those type of positions. They just don't.
No, they don't.
It's just,
they
it's
do
not
3 on
the training is, hey, you get stuck in a $50,000 kitchen package order that somebody screwed up, and you got 2 customers screaming your head off. That's the training. It's live training. Just throw you in the pool.
Trial training by fire.
Exactly. So after 10 years, you start to see all the scenarios where you start to master it all. Jim, I hope we answered your question as far as Chris Nooner with your mapping the controls and simpler UI, because we kind of covered that before we went to the UI, and then Bill's Retro Gaming Show followed up with the that as well. John J has a question here. Glenn, when you download the games, are they yours permanently, or are they just good emulators?
Well, they're downloaded. Like, if you download them to an external storage, it would be on the external storage. It's not like we come back, we take them off there. You're agreeing, saying you're entitled to them, and you're putting them on there, so it's on your machine. We don't pay block you. We don't come back one day and say, oh, you know what? We decided that we're not going to have that game anymore and just take over. No, we don't do that. Once you do it, it's yours.
You got the Glentendo going, but I don't know if you want to jump into the Nintendo.
Exactly. Well, hey, if I get me really get lit up on that, talk about that license agreement they have in there. I think that's horrible. With spending $500 and the machine's not yours. I mean, that's ridiculous.
I gotta ask you the best question in the house. Okay, when you had your rant a couple weeks ago on your stream about the Nintendo Switch 2, now I know James wants to know in the chat. Every pre-order that goes through in the Kickstarter, are we getting a Nintendo Switch 2 paired with that as well?
No. Although there's HDMI out on the Switch 2, you could connect it to the FU. You could, but I would rather you didn't, because I'm not. The Switch 1, fine. I'm just not happy with Switch 2, and I'm just in shock and awe how Nintendo kind of gets away with things like that. Now you got me on the rant.
Yeah,
Xbox, if Microsoft or Sony did that, the community goes ape shit, and then they're gonna go, "Whoa, okay, we're not gonna do that. Not gonna do that." Nintendo goes, "No, you're gonna spend $500. It's ours, and we'll brick it if we don't like it, and that's it." That's ridiculous.
Maybe Nintendo is on that same platform as Apple, where it's like we tell you what to do.
Yes, but the problem is, we are the customers, so we're allowing that to happen. If you don't buy the product, they're going to sit down there and go, well, no one's buying our product. Why? Well, obviously it's because the license agreement is not so good. Oh, well, then I guess we're going to change that. They have no reason to change it.
I've always said, guys, listen, we control how the market
Absolutely.
is. The problem, though, is you get people that are like, I don't care. Like, tariffs, an extra $200, I'll pay it. I just want it. And it's like, stop it. Stop doing that. Like, you're going to ruin it for the rest of us. Guys, listen, if the whole United States just stopped buying gas today, and it was one day without a single gas purchase. The next
Right.
day, it'd be like a buck for
Right.
your whole tank.
No one's
It'd
going
be
to do that
insane.
though. Yep.
And
No
we've
one's
done
going to do that.
we've done this during COVID. We had a Honda Pilot during COVID. Normally costs like $50 to fill up. We filled up one time, it was like $15. I was like, this is great. Like, this is how it always should be, you know? But yeah, no one's gonna collectively do that.
No, but as a community as a whole, again, if other companies did something like that, it just gets me how they get away with it. I don't know. It just doesn't make sense to me.
I love the rants. Don't stop them. Alan here's got a question. Will there be shooter games and pistols? That's actually a good question because we haven't really seen that at all with all the decks that have been out.
Yep.
We actually haven't seen a shooter.
Let's see. I'm very bad at the camera here. So you can see my two Sinden Target Pros right there in the background. So the FU has two USB ports right in the front, and you can the Arcade OS directly supports light guns, and of course it definitely directly supports Sinden and the GRS Sinden Target Pro. So yes, and even Wii remotes. So if you want to use that like a Wii remote as a gun, all those things would work in the Arcade OS, and then therefore the FU. In fact, when I had COVID back in the day, I was bored. I took one of my Build-A-Cades and I took my Sinden Target Pro, my big Sinden Target Pro, and I got the Sinden software running on my 1/6 scale Build-A-Cade. I was playing Alien 3: The Gun on a 1/6 scale Build-A-Cade. So
Jeez.
yeah, you can do it.
That's crazy. Dumper's got a question here. It's about my audio. Are we good on the audio? I just want to make sure, we just want to make sure.
It doesn't sound muffled to me.
Okay, cool.
Unless that's how you sound normally. I can't tell. Is that how you normally sound?
Hey, I guess so. Who knows, right? Who knows? Meatball Saucy with a question coming in here. It says, does it automatically do the borders on the Sinden games then?
Yes. So again, in the Arcade OS, you could tell it to, as soon as you connect a Sinden or Sinden Target Pro, to immediately, even in the menu, bring up that border. Or it makes more sense to have it do it when the game actually launches. So yes, and we also have utilities. We can try different settings, borders, thicknesses, and adjust in the Arcade OS. It's all available in the Arcade OS. Yes, but when you connect to Sinden, it knows it's there.
That's perfect. That's nice, simple, easy.
Yep.
Nothing going on there. Now I'm going to share this, guys. This is obviously the Kickstarter here. Okay. So we're going to just kind of roughly just touch on this real quick. And guys, keep your questions coming. We want to get to as many as we can. That's the whole point of this stream. But Glenn, I have a question for you. Okay, if it hasn't been answered already, I don't follow everybody on every platform. But why did you opt to do a Kickstarter? Like, why not just come out with it? What is the advantages, disadvantages? Why did you make that decision to say, hey, we're gonna go through Kickstarter like Wonderland did?
A couple of reasons. The main reason is this is a very large project for us. I mean, we normally do a 1/6 scale Build-A-Cade or components, right? Joysticks, stuff like that. This is a very, very large scale item. Now, T-Stick's parent company is in the arcade field, so to them this is nothing. But we're more like a Skunk Works division of that company. So the reason we did the Kickstarter was twofold. One, large project. Two, we've done Kickstarters before. Our first one was for the Star Wars Flight Yoke, and I felt that rather than doing a pre-order, pre-orders they kind of lock up your money, right? If you do a pre-order, they kind of got your money. You have to try and get it back. With the Kickstarter, I think I personally felt, especially since we did one before and it was so successful, that people can trust us to know that we are going to honor what I'm saying in here. And in the Kickstarter, I do say that we have to hit the 200 units for this to be to be considered successful and go on to being completed and built. But I still know there's a tariff situation out there. And right now, like I said, I'm eating the 30% tariff on the first 200 units, 100 of the 19 and 100 of the 26. But after that, there will be the 30% tariff in there. Now, what I said in here, and I think it was right at the top, that if the tariff was, let's say, go down to 20%, we will refund that 10%. So between 30% and 20%, we refund that 10%. If we're down to 15%, we would refund that 15% of the tariff cost that would have been in there. Now, on the flip side of the coin, if the tariff goes up a lot higher for some reason, because again, it's still not set in stone what it's going to be. If it goes a lot higher, we will cancel that because I don't think it's right to spend all this extra money for a tariff on a machine that's supposed to be an inexpensive machine for you guys, right? So me personally, and the honor I feel for myself, I couldn't say, okay, it's now a 60% tariff. I got to charge you guys another 30% to cover that cost. I don't want to do that. So we would cancel the Kickstarter, refund everyone's money, and maybe we'll launch the FU at another time when things were more favorable. But in talking to my team, they did feel like right now, I think they think that the tariff is, the waters of that tariff is going to be to a point where we can be okay, and we're going to launch it. But if it does, in fact, go better and the tariff goes down a little bit, we'll refund that difference. If it goes too far the other way, we do reserve the right to cancel and refund your money completely.
Beautiful. I mean, that's a little insurance, because
I want to make sure people feel okay about it.
I got to be honest with you, and I just want to be transparent to the community, you, myself, we the Iconic Arcade situation, we got a lot of pre-orders for that, that I've pre-ordered myself, haven't heard a single dime. And it's like
they charged you a dime, didn't they?
100%. And, I'm lucky enough to go, I had 1 foot in, 1 foot out, did the 50-50 because I don't pre-order, guys. As you know me, I've gotten burned way too many times by Arcade 1-Up to pre-order. So I don't do that. But in this situation, it's like they were going to be sold out. It's like, dude, I don't have a choice here, until these are in retailers and I'd have to wait or whatever the case may be. But now you're in a situation where you don't know, and it's nice to just have that. Again, maybe, Glenn, maybe being a little bit smaller, like we were talking about before, bigger companies. Yeah, okay, well, we'll take in consideration. But having that trust now with a smaller company to then, okay, look, this is going to happen if this happens, or so on and so forth, which is obviously nice to hear. The communication is where it's at. So scrolling down to the page here, we covered that guy. I had a quick question here. We got the dimensions here. You guys know about that. 23.7 inches deep, 24 inches across, 68 inches high. It's pretty much an XXL XL arcade unit.
A little bit bigger.
A little bit bigger, yeah.
Just saying. A little bigger.
And a little bit more heavier, too.
Yes.
About 200 pounds.
A lot more heavier. I still say Mrs. Collins can stand in it without breaking it.
Now that would be something, because we've seen that before.
Yeah, but I think Mrs. Kongs and Kongs can both stand in it and not break it.
That's hilarious. One question I had real quick, obviously we covered a lot of stuff here. Where the T-molding is going to meet where the Glentendo hood is.
Yes.
That T-molding, how is that going to be removed when you put the Glentendo hood in?
The T-molding, again, being real T-molding, not glued on, not like tape. It's real T-molding. It's separated there. So you can simply remove that section of the T-molding, slide in the Glentendo hood, make it, the seam all perfect, and then 2 screws will hold it in on the sides. So the T-molding does have a section that can be pulled out there.
So there won't be any holes on the exterior of the cabinet.
There will be 2 holes for 2 screws to go in to hold that hood in. Otherwise, I don't want to take a chance of, falling out. So there are 2 screws that will go on the sides. There'll be plugs. You can put some plugs in there. And
that's good. So you don't want to make a hole and then it's kind of like you're kind of screwed, stuck with it kind of thing.
Right.
100%.
Because I heard a few people said about making, a pinball thing, you want to put screws on the side. I said, well, you may not want to do that because there may be a deck coming out that has it in there already. You don't have to make any holes in the side. But again, it is Build-A-Cade FU for you. It's your unit. Do what you want.
I'm going to scroll down here real quick. I mean, I don't know what we could really show here. Alan is saying, for the love of God, can we get the actual Glentendo hood shown? There you go. Alan, it's right there. I just showed it to you.
You go down a little bit further. I think you get a bigger shot if you go down to the decks themselves. I think a little further down. There you go.
There we go. Read them and weep, buddy. There you go. I need to see a prototype. So we're going to show you that. I hope I'm zoomed in long enough. Let's go here. Let's go up top. So I think it's right here. Here it is right here. That's probably the best shot we have right now.
Yes.
Brooklyn, thank you for stopping by. Let's see where we're at here. Alan has a question. Make sure the manufacturer price of the product is less than the margin for the tariff declaration, plus ship them to an entity in Mexico, then ship them out of Mexico for a lower tariff. Well, that is getting confusing and complicated.
It is, but that's also a dangerous slope. Because trust me, we look at all different things. It can be a dangerous slope because they still check, and backtrack where it came from. So that could open up a bad can of worms as well. But trust me, Alan, I hear what you're saying. I do.
We hear you, right? That's any way to make it cheaper, but yeah, you want to play by the rules here. Thor KC says, I wish there were final prototypes to see the whole thing with the rotating screen versus a larger screen. You
It
don't
is
have
coming.
any of those, do you?
It
Okay.
is
Okay.
no, it is coming. Again, I've been trying to get it here, but we're making so many small changes, on the back end and improvements that my team's like, we're shipping it this week. And I'm like, where is it? Oh, not this week, soon. So it will be here definitely before the Kickstarter is complete. You guys will definitely see a unit, and I know that Glenn Baisley and Bill's retro gaming show. I'm basically going to have them come over. I'm going to put them in the room, and I'm going to leave the room and just let them do and see and touch and do everything in their own. No, nothing for me unless they come and ask me a question, to give their reviews of the machine. And I've had people ask me to bring them out to bring it out to shows, but I'm trying to let people realize, it's it's could be 200 pounds. It's not something that easily comes in and out of a second story of the house with a guy with arms like this. Just letting you know. Okay, it's
Put it on
not
your
gonna be
shoulder,
that
right?
easy.
You can't even do that with an arcade 1-up. You can't even put it on your shoulder. So 200 pounds,
No,
I
but
can
no,
only
but okay,
imagine.
one ups I could toss around. That I can. It's that's easy. But like that Zaxxon back there, I'm not doing that by myself. That's like impossible. And that's kind of what we're talking about. Now it can come in two pieces, like a bar top and the base, which will make it easier. But it really should be probably a two-person job, moving it around. And I want to bring up something real quick here because I know Michael B. I don't know if he's in the chat, but he always brings this up here, and I wanted to show this right here. So people ask all the time, what does FU mean? And that's why I'm bringing this up right here. So what does FU mean in the Build-A-Cade FU? Well, it obviously means full-size unit. That's what it means. But it can also mean family unit, fun unit, fantastic unit, fabulous unit, friendly unit, fun-loving unit, and most of all, for you. That's what the real meaning behind FU means. But on top of that, it also means, in Chinese, generally it means blessing, good fortune, happiness, and prosperity. So FU has a very positive connotation that goes along with it. Now, obviously, it could also mean another term, FU. And again, it's totally like the machine. It's totally what you want it to be. You want it to be FU, then it's FU. But it's a for you family full size unit. That's really what it means. And to bring your family peace, prosperity, and fun. That's the thing behind the FU.
And that's a great message at the end of the day. Yeah, it's
But it's great that it kind of works for everything, including
it
the other
does.
FU. It kind of works.
It's like a multi-cade. It can
It's
multi-mean
a
transform
multi
into
meaning for the
everything.
multi-cade. Exactly.
Exactly, perfect. A multi-meaning for the multi-cade. Absolutely love it. Now you answered this question in a podcast recently, but for those of you that are here now, I had a question of how are these decks gonna be swappable? I kind of got that answer, and it's so funny that how technical minds think, right? Your team was like, well, you got to do with these 28 pin connectors, yada yada, so on, and you just looked at it and you're like, what in the H is going
No.
on? And
Yeah, Mike.
it's
No.
just so you can. I'll let you explain away on how these decks are going to be able to be swappable. How do you swap them out, so on and so forth.
Right. So my original thought was using just pogo pins. Just make it real easy. But I
Yeah,
decided with just a USB-A connector because again, I want third parties, even end users, anyone to be able to make a deck for this. So by making it USB-A, very easy to do. So my team was like, we got to do all these things. I'm like, no, 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 no. All we need to do is we need a USB-A, and we'll have an encoder built into the deck. That they were going to build the encoders into the base unit. By doing that, you'd have all these type of connectors to put on afterwards. So no, we'll sell the deck still inexpensively. We'll include that encoder in the deck. This way, we have one USB-A connector. So basically, you're going to pull up on the front of the deck, pull it towards you, disconnect one USB cable, take your next deck, put in one USB cable, slide the deck in, and drop it down. That's it. Now, different decks in the future may need more than one USB, depending what it has. But we did include extra USB ports in there. But the majority are going to be just one USB port or maybe two USB ports plugging in, slide in the deck, drop it down, pull up, pull out. That's it. Now, the pogo pins would have made it easier. That would have been just literally just slide it back and drop it. But if I did that, you, Joey, or these other people now have to buy these custom connector pins. That would have raised the price. And I didn't want to do that for them. I wanted to try and keep it simple for people to do. And that's what we came up with. And that's how it's going to be.
beautiful. Yeah, obviously you sharing the wealth with other kind of third party companies to really, because we don't even know, once this goes down the road, Kickstarter is successful, somebody could be playing a game and be like, whoa, I want this, and boom, we just created something fresh and new. Who knows? Now, what are your, I don't know if you've come up with kind of like a roadmap of down the road, what, is there life after this? Because you've said, numerous times that this is your end game, right? Is there life down the road for a FU 2.0 or
No, it's called
whatever the
FU2.
case may be?
FU2. That's the name.
FU2.
FU2. Yeah.
I love it. But have you ever thought about that, or is that just like, hey, look at this is the end all be all. This is what it is,
Well, yeah. So I did say that, and I still say this is my end game, meaning that for all the things, it still amazes me how far I've come doing things I never thought I'd be doing. So this is my end game, as in I'm making a full size unit. When I was a kid, it's one of those dreams you always had to have a real machine in your house, being able to play all these games. So that's the end game. But I also said doesn't mean it's the end of the game. It's my end game, not the end of the game. So I still have a lot of projects in my head, other controls for besides the FUs, other controls as well, other things. But the FU, depending how well the Kickstarter does, if it does very well, we'll be making more decks, more enhancements for it. And then, of course, who knows what comes down FU2, FU3, whatever. But right now, it all hinges on this. If it doesn't do well, that's okay. I have other projects that will still come out that will still be game-changing items. But I do think that if this does take off, it will add another layer of the GRS Build-A-Cade T-Sticks ecosystem that I really think that no one really does everything that we do as good as we do it. And if we can build up the ecosystem, it's only going to be beneficial for everybody. Because I don't want this to be just T-Sticks and me. I want other people to be able to make things and options and enhancements for this or the 1/6 scale Build-A-Cade or the other things I can't tell you about that are also, there's an in between, right? So we have the 1/6 scale and we have the full size, but there's all this areas in between that, who knows what could happen. But it kind of hinges a little bit, at least some of that plan hinges on the FU, how well it does.
You're tingling my ears a little bit. That's very exciting. So, and for those of you that I'll kind of just fill in the blanks, deluxe, I'll just say that, or ultra, if those terminologies ring a bell to you guys. Now that we're coming up with these new companies coming up and coming out and showing up and showing out, I had a lot of my questions answered that I wanted to get touched on. I wanted to touch on, warranty, why we're doing a Kickstarter here, swappable decks, you name it. Chat, if you have any questions, and Meatball is 100% right. It all starts tomorrow night. We are T minus less than what, coming up
23 hours
here.
and 6 minutes.
Very, very exciting. I mean, congratulations, Glenn. I've said it before in the chats in cap lock letters. I mean, this is going to be a true, just awesome milestone that you and your team have accomplished. Like, I can only imagine, like, coming out with our, a home arcade product or an arcade product. Because, let's face it, this can go in real arcades. This is fully coin-opt. There's a lot of cool things that this guy can do that you're not used to from your home arcade units. You can drop the coin in, hear that, hit the bucket while you coin up and play your game.
That's the best part for me too. I want to hear that coin go in, hear that it's a change in the bottom. It's just a great memory as a kid.
Yeah, it's just those little things that obviously separates from my home arcade product. I loved when Arcade 1-Up was doing the coin doors, and I just never understood why they didn't light them up, because all of them lit up. Like, that's the whole point of it. So, obviously you see here we modded everything, and we're big modders. Almost every arcade in our home arcade has been modified some way or somehow. It's just so cool, man. Like, from me to you, like, that you're doing this. I'm super hyped, and I hope to God that this works out for you and the home arcade community. Looking back at the Kickstarter, guys, we had there's 454 people that have been notified on that. So once it goes live, they're gonna get that notification. And if you're following it, you probably want to go ahead and buy it. That's the whole reason you're following the Kickstarter. So, Glenn, I wish you the best of luck, and I really hope that this thing takes off to the future and beyond, and see what else can come about. This is really cool. Like, when you were showing me the interface here, the arcade net, like, it's so simple. Like, chat, you gotta be hyped about that, because I was kind of worried, like, dude, I don't want to have to go and like soft mod things and drag files on computers. Like
Right.
I'm not doing that. Like
Right.
I'm not doing. If I could have done that, I would have had Alpha 3 by now in the
Right.
background. Like I would have had some
And
of my, like.
I
So
knew
yeah,
you
it's
were
just
talking about the 19-inch, and that's another thing. Like the gate, we have the 4 8-way gate restrictors. So when you pick Pac-Man, it knows the Arcade OS is aware, and it'll make it a 4-way joystick. And you play Defender, it'll go, or Joust, it'll go to an 8-way. So we're gonna do the same thing with that 19-inch. So when you go to launch Pac-Man, there'll be options in arcade to say, okay, this is a vertical game. So when you pick it the next time, the screen automatically will know and it'll lock your gates in 4-way. You go play Joust 8-way, and the screen comes right back down. So
so cool,
that
so
is
cool.
automatic. However, both of those, just so you know, the gate restrictor and the screen, you can still do it manually. You can still just press a button because if you want to keep it, in a mode, it'll stay in that mode. So you could
So
do
there's an
either way,
override.
manual
Okay.
or electronic.
Meatball Saucy here is this question about the at-games BitPixel. What is the mounting solution for that device in the FU?
So actually, I was just talking again. Everything's happening tonight. I was just talking to Al Linky right before your show to make sure that we got his link added to the Kickstarter page. So it's up. It mentions his item in there, and he specifically designed a screen for us, and we specifically designed the top of the FU, 2 screws. Take up the 2 screws, and just take up the top plate. You take out my FU, which is right above my head here. You take out that screen right there, and you're going to slide his in. 2 screws back in to hold it in place. The cable's right there for the USB and power. So that's it. So power, USB, slide it in. 2 screws. Tell Arcade OS it's attached. That's it.
It's pretty easy. Pretty
You're done.
easy. If I can do it, anybody could do it. Alan, I already know the answer to this because we discussed this before show. But it says, Glenn, which one do I get, the 19 or 26? If you could only choose one, which one would you pick?
Personally, and I know the CornerCade's on me with this one. I always wanted the 19-inch. I want that electronic rotating screen. I know a lot of people really wanted that big screen, but I grew up in the 80s. So the games I like playing, like the Donkey Kong Jr., Vanguard, were all 19-inch screens. So I want that 19-inch screen and be able to have it in the right orientation when it plays. So that's what I want. Now, with that being said, I made sure the team designed it in such a way that you can remove the 19-inch. If you bought the 26 separately, a separate kit, you can then come by and just basically connect the cables and just drop it in place. And now have the 26-inch. You can pull it out, rotate it, pull it out, rotate it, or pull it out and put the 19-inch back in. So I tried to make stuff as easy as possible to do that. Now, if you add the Glintendo hood, it makes it a little more difficult because you have to take the plexiglass out. Because once you add that Glintendo hood, I'm assuming you're going to put artwork on the side, so that's not coming off. But you could unscrew the plexiglass in front and still get in there, but it's going to make it tight. So I think if you get the 26-inch, you're probably going to put it either horizontal and 26-inch for horizontal games. That'll give you 19-inch in vertical games. But if you have the 19-inch, it'll just rotate behind the plexiglass, behind the Glintendo hood, and that's kind of what I'm looking forward to.
Yeah, and that's the route I would kind of take as well. And we discussed that. When I think 26-inch, I think like what, Candy Cab and like a fighter. I'm sitting there like it gets to too big unless you're gonna dedicate this thing as like a shooting cab or something, right? You had this big nice screen where it's just like shooter. It's just my multi-key shooter.
Or
that's a great thing. You could do anything with this.
Yeah.
You literally
or
could
you
do
can get
anything
the
you
double
want.
pack, and you can get the 19-inch and the 26-inch. You get one of each.
Exactly. You get the
have a
double
double
that
pack.
J-Rod's doing, and you can dress one up as a Nintendo cab, leave the other as a multi-cade. Goofyfoot, another CornerCade crew channel member, and a smart man says, "What time does the pre-order
in 23
launch
hours exactly? 23
Let's
hours
go.
from right now."
Look, I know Bill's hyped. Let's go, Bill. Let's do this. Dr. Tor Glenn with the 26-inch. Does the FU know its orientation when you flip it?
Yeah, I made sure. My team was like, "Why?" I says, "Because we're still putting a sensor there. So when you take the 26-inch and it's in horizontal, Arcade OS will know it's in horizontal. If you go and grab it like this, pull it towards you and turn it and drop it back into vertical, Arcade OS will be able to acknowledge. It'll know you rotated it manually, and it will set the Arcade OS to the vertical."
Beautiful, because yeah, no fuss, no muss. Chris Nooner says, when will we be able to pre-order the graphics? Someone like Zabos as a given timeline. Like, what are we looking at? And I know you can't really speak upon what timelines third-party companies are doing.
I
because
can
they
tell
could
you
have,
that Escape Pod and Joe has the stencils. They have the stencils. So as far as that, I can't say. I know Joe was working on it. He was hitting me up like last week with some questions. So I assume he's working on something there. But I don't know. But again, the Kickstarter is starting now. We wouldn't be shipping until February. So there's plenty of time for Joe to make artwork and for people to put
get
in
it on his
requests for
website.
artwork and do.
Yep,
There's plenty of time for that.
Yeah.
I personally still like it black. I think it looks really nice in black. I'm not sure if I'm gonna put artwork on it.
And that's one of
I don't
the
know.
things that I was, that's one of the things that like I want to see. I'm a visual guy. I want to see like an actual like what this looks like, because prototype is one thing, a 3D render is one thing, but actually seeing this thing with the marquee lid is like, wow, that actually looks pretty sharp. With the chrome T molding, the black contrasting, sides, it's like, hey, actually that looks pretty cool. I want to get that. So that's just me though. I like to
All
see
guys are
things
visual. That's the
visually.
thing, ladies. All guys are visual. Just point a note.
Speaking of ladies, Alan says he's got to boot the wife to get this. Alan, no. You get the double bubble package, and she can play, and you can play side by side as a tando duo. Let's do that. That's a better option, Alan. Let's go. Let's not boot any wives here.
Maybe I should talk to my team, and if you buy like a Build-A-Cade FU, you get like a purse or some shoes and something to soften the blow. Chocolates.
I love that you're including that little mini Build-A-Cade with it.
Yeah,
I think that's really cool. Like, why not?
The just so you know, the original concept I had was you would open up the coin door, and you would take your 1/6 scale Build-A-Cade with the Viper Venom in it, and you would dock it to the full size. So basically making it like a big switch type of thing. You would dock it, and it would light it up, and then you would take it out and go with you. My team poo-pooed on that because like the development cost would have been it, but there's always FU2. No one knows what comes out, right?
There's always FU2. You're
right.
gonna learn things from this one that
Always
you can
learn.
either and then enhance or whatever the case may be on the next one. You never know. Alan asked, will you sell out of various control decks, or are those always going to be in stock?
We'll know how many we have to make for the actual Kickstarter based on what the orders are. After that, they'll probably be built more to order. If someone needs one, we'll build them to order. But again, even if we don't do it, the same decks, in theory, should be available from other parties as well.
Beautiful. Yeah. And we're going to have, obviously you're going to have all those third-party people be getting order ideas or custom orders, and then that'll be for sale, where us in the community will share those, like, oh, look what I got, and then it'll kind of snowball from there. So I think this thing is kind of like truly an endless design. It's kind of like what we do here when we take a certain arcade one-up and we kind of mod it and put a new control deck in, and it's something totally different. Like, Glenn, we did the Golden Axe cab. We needed a whole new control panel for that. So we hit up G.I. Joel, and he made one, and now look, he's selling those, and now Sir Sega's doing the same mod we did, and it starts to spread. It's literally the exact same concept, except here, this is like meant to be. We're not just making this up and saying, hey, look, this is what we should do. This is meant to be. It's a multi-cade with hundreds of different options. I mean, it's literally endless at the end of the day. Chad, if you guys don't have any more questions, I mean, we can kind of wrap this up. We can kind of wish Glenn all the best of luck here. I hope that this stream was able to kind of guide you to one direction or another on your final thoughts on leading up to the pre-order, or the Kickstarter. Now, Kickstarter, is there a certain time limit as to how long it's going to go for?
It's
once
60
it goes
days.
live tomorrow. 60 days. Okay. So you'll have 2 months to kind of see that trail, whatever you want to do. And I'm sure, Glenn, you'll be spreading the good joy on streams and whatnot, talking about this and getting
I'm on the
people
tour.
excited and hyped.
I'm on the FU
you're
tour.
The FU tour. We were just discussing that before we went live. You were like, oh, I've been on so many shows. What show were you talking about again? So you've been definitely on the...
I forget. It's crazy.
Yeah, you've been on the tour for sure. You're like a rock star now, man. You were a rock star before, now you're on tour. You're not just doing CDs. Thank you everybody for coming out. We had a blast. I wish I could stay here forever, guys. You know how I do. I'm a talker, so I could go 2 hours more with Glenn. But Glenn's East Coast. It's getting late. You know what I'm saying? Glenn, I do appreciate you, and again, best of luck to you and your team moving forward. And Julio Hernandez says we need an unboxing of the FU at the CornerCade. That would be phenomenal. But we shall see what happens. Bill's Retro Gaming Show. Everybody in the house, thank you so much, guys, for being here. You know, guys, if you have any last questions, you can always leave them down in the comment section after this stream is over, and we can get those answered for you as best we can. I'm sure Glenn here will check the comment section. This is his stream here, and this is all dedicated to him. And Glenn, did you leave me already? Did you just say I'm out? You just put the picture. You're like, I'm out. I gotta go to the bathroom real quick or something. But guys, I appreciate everybody again stopping by. We're gonna wrap it up. Give this video a like on your way out. Glenn, I really do appreciate you hopping on again, and we'll always have you back. The door is always open for you.
Thanks,
come back and hang out at the CornerCade and shoot the shit in the future. Maybe we'll talk Nintendo Switch 2 in the future when they do something stupid again.
Rant time.
Yeah, don't stop the rants. Keep them going, dude. I absolutely love it, guys. We will see you all in the next one. For Glenn, this is Danny from the CornerCade, and we'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.
Peace.